In this video, we will show you how to replace your transmission mount on this Toyota Sienna. This will be located inside of your front wheel well. Let's get into it. Okay friend, let's get started on our job. We're going to have to safely raise and support the front of the vehicle so the wheel's off the ground. After that, to remove the wheel, remove all 5 of your 21mm lug nuts. Now with the wheel out of the way, we have a close look at our transmission mount. It's right out in the open. To remove this, we'll start along the top. You can see a 19mm headed mounting nut. Go ahead and remove that nut. A quick inspection of the mounting hardware as we remove it, replace it as necessary. Now let's move from that mount under the vehicle. Along the front of the engine, in the center of the subframe, is where you're going to find another engine mount. We're going to have to dislodge the engine mount from the subframe. To do that, and gain access to all the hardware, we're going to pull down on this area. You'll find that you do have a plastic push clip. You can pry that out of place with a trim tool or just a small prying device. When you look just above that area, you're going to find a rubber plug. We'll remove this. At this point, we can continue on with the 14mm mounting hardware. You'll find that you have 3 nuts, one inside the port that you just removed the cover from, one out in the open right here, and the other one's just in front of it. Now we can pause in this area and we'll make our way back over towards the driver's side fender well. Now over in this area, we'll be looking along the bottom of the subframe once again. We're looking for this plug here. Firstly, let's remove this plug. That exposes the 17mm mounting nut in this area. You can see one in the open right here. And then the third one is up inside this circular port. With the mounting hardware out of place, the next thing we have to do is safely start raising the transmission up. We'll come right underneath the transmission pan. You want to try to use a flat block for this, covering as much space as possible. We don't want to cause any damage to the transmission. As we start bringing this up, we'll be paying attention along the top of that transmission mount. We're looking for a gap right along this area. Once you start feeling pressure, you want to stop. We don't want to cause any damage here. We'll be paying attention in this area. You can see the stud that leads down the transmission mount. It essentially screws right in down here. To remove this stud, we'll be using some locking pliers. Go ahead and take this. We'll turn it counterclockwise until it's fully removed. There we are. At this point, you should be able to take hold of the transmission mount. We're going to lift it up, rock it out, and remove it from the vehicle. There it is, friend. Before we install, let's make sure we clean and inspect the mounting points. Let's prepare to install our brand new transmission mount. Before you can install it into the vehicle, you need to remove the upper stud. We'll turn this counterclockwise to remove it. If it feels like it's stuck in position, go ahead and use those locking pliers. Break it free and completely unscrew it. We'll set that aside. Now we can install that transmission mount. When we bring it in, we'll make sure we're coming in at an angle, starting with the bottom first. That should roll right into place. Continue on to your upper mounting stud. You'll find that I use some blue thread locker on this application. By leaving the mount loose, we should be able to maneuver it around as needed to get everything aligned properly. Go ahead and start this in by hand. Continue on using your locking pliers if necessary. We want to make sure this is completely tightened down to the mount before we continue. Right there is where it feels as though it wanted to bottom out. We'll just make sure it's nice and tight as I mentioned. A quick inspection in this area. Continue on by lowering the transmission down into the proper position. With full weight of the transmission on the mount, we'll continue on with the upper mounting nut. Start it on, snug it up, and I'll torque this to 65 foot-pounds. Let's make our way down to the bottom three 17mm headed mounting nuts. Start them on, snug them up, and I'll torque these to 50 foot-pounds. Install your protective plug along this area. Once you're sure everything's tight for the side transmission mount, we're going to make our way back towards the center front of the engine to reinstall the engine mount. In the center here, we'll be putting on our 14mm headed mounting nuts. We'll torque these to 36 foot-pounds. Now that we torqued it, let's make sure we put in our protective plug. Now we can reinstall our shield. Make sure that's secured. One last quick inspection in this area, and we'll continue on with installing our front wheel. Start on all 5 of your 21mm lug nuts, bottom them out. We'll get the wheel safely back down on the ground and torque each of these to 76 foot-pounds. With the wheel safely on the ground, we'll be torquing these in a crisscross manner. Torqued. Okay, friend, we finished the installation of our transmission mount. At this point, you want to make sure that you take your vehicle for a road test, listen for any funny noises. Aside from that, thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.